Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Many Mistakes Ago podcast. So, I recorded a whole entire episode, but I decided to trash it because I was very unfocused. And if I'm being quite honest with you, I think I had to stop recording and start recording again about 3 times because the dogs, my girlfriend came home. The timing was just not right, so I decided to just scratch the episode and start over. Um, I think one thing about that is that trial and error is definitely a thing when it comes to recording content and creating content because after I recorded that episode, I just did not feel confident at all in what I was putting out. And I know that I want to do better. I don't exactly want it to feel like a therapy session. I want you guys to actually get something out of it. Now, obviously, I know that I've definitely had episodes where I felt relieved after and it almost felt like a therapy session, but that's not what this is about. So that's why I decided to scrap it and just start over cuz I can always make a new episode. Um so today's episode is about female friendships and why female friendships are so hard to sustain. Now, for me personally, I feel like I struggled with female friendships for other reasons in addition to the reasons that I'll be talking about. But essentially, with female friendships, there is way more emotion involved. And I feel like women just tend to put in a lot of effort into their friendships. So if they feel as though they're not getting that same effort back or reciprocation, that it can definitely be draining because you're sitting here feeling like you're trying but the other person may not be. And obviously that's disheartening because why am I going to put so much effort into a friendship and feel as though I'm not getting anything back? You know, I feel like relationships of all sorts should be a two-way street. So if you don't feel like you're gaining anything from that friendship in terms of love or support or just even caring, obviously you're not going to want to keep that person around, especially if you see it going in the opposite direction where being friends with somebody means that you're going backwards. Maybe that's in terms of getting into some bad habits like drinking or drugs, or maybe you just don't feel as motivated to contribute to society in some way, shape, or form. Whatever it may be, you have to kind of differentiate why you're friends with somebody and if their values and your values align, which is very difficult because we're all different human beings. We all have different goals, different ambitions, different paths or walks of life. So, female friendships can be hard because you're not only dealing with those factors, but you're dealing with seeing if you guys align. And you're also sometimes dealing with outside forces, whether that be their old friends or their current friends or your current friends or old friends. I've definitely had some female friendships where, I'll give Sabrina for example, because I really do think that this is a good example of a friendship that was torn down but was rebuilt. And for example, Sabrina and I became friends a while back when I was dating Alec and she was first dating Tim. Now, her and Tim are engaged and they have come such a long way in that time, and I've got to see that relationship blossom, which is amazing. But I wasn't there for all of it. And that's because her and I got so close so quickly. That was my best friend at the time. She got through even my relationship and breakup with Alec and how I struggled with that. And, she had her struggles and trying times that obviously I'm not going to speak about because it's not my life, it's her life. But there were outside factors. There were people that I was friends with that she used to be friends with or she was friends with at the time. And it was just like this high school petty drama that really just tore us apart. And we weren't friends for at least a good year, if not two. And it sucks to say that, like, there were outside forces and, like, kind of like people talking about other people behind their back and everything, where you're just kind of like, what is this? Because we weren't in high school anymore, but it sure as heck felt that way. So obviously it can be frustrating and scary to, like, deal with, like, high school drama when you're like 21, 22. You're like, what is going on? But our friendship had ultimately ended, and we both kind of contributed to, talking bad about each other and, like, not having each other's backs even after our friendship ended. And, like, I'll be the first one to admit, like, I was insecure, I was petty, I was just, like, all sorts of just immature. And obviously I've grown since then. Like, I'm not sitting here, back talking people. I might have a podcast where I reflect on people, but I'm not sitting here saying, like, she was a bad friend or this or that or pointing fingers, because there's no point in that. It doesn't get you anywhere. It sure as hell isn't going to get that friend back, and it's pointless. It does nothing but waste your energy. And so that kind of drama died down, and I moved on, she moved on, whatever. And the reason that we ended up becoming friends again, or bridging that gap, was from a mutual friend of ours that I had gotten in touch with. And she was like, Sabrina really misses you, like, that was a good friendship. And shit kind of went down, obviously, but, like, I think you guys should talk. And I was like, you know what? Like, I think you're right, because at this point, I had went through so many changes, breakups, and I was working on character development and just being a better person, essentially. I was working on myself. I was, broken up with Jeff, and that was really where my character development, like, actually truly started. And it kind of sucks to say, but it's also, like, I feel like until you reach the age of about 25, 26, you really don't get it in terms of what being an adult is like, in terms of growing up and maturing. You don't have those certain life points that just kind of hit you and make you realize, like, what's actually important in life. So I was going through all of that, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I do want to apologize to Sabrina, because I said some shit. We both did some shit. I left her, had a shitty time. Her and I's friendship ended at a shitty time for her, in my opinion, and I could have been there for her, but it was just my own ego and immaturity that got in the way of that, as well as outside factors. So I owned up to that, and her and I had this really good conversation where we decided that the past was a past, and that who we are as people now is what's important, and knowing that we can apologize for our fuck ups and our mishaps and what we did wrong and move on from that. And I love that, because she was an important person in my life, and to this day she is. Like, she is my bridesmaid, I am her bridesmaid type of vibe. So I love that we were able to mend that, but that doesn't always happen with every friendship. And I think it takes a lot of growing up. It takes a lot of self-reflection and self-realization, but also it takes two people that want that friendship to work to make it work, because one person can apologize all day, every day. I don't know if growth is involved with said apologies. It really depends on the circumstance, of course. But what is going to make the relationship or friendship work is if both people want that and contribute to that. So, with that being said, there are some factors that make female friendships hard, and one thing is that I did listen to another podcast that kind of emphasized that obviously there are emotions in female friendships because females put in a lot of work and a lot of effort into their friends. You know, we do make it a point to have a social life. Whereas guys, I don't want to say that they're all introverted because that's not the case. I'm not going to make a blanket statement like that. But I feel like guys are able to kind of put aside their differences sometimes when it comes to friendships, or, you know, they're kind of just done. They don't really talk about it. They don't really express their emotions with their friends in that way necessarily, and they might not put in the effort that females, you know, have to put in. Like, I feel like it's so hard to find friends, and it's so hard to like make those connections, and you sit here and you try to talk to people and try to connect and see if that friendship is like worth your while, and see if that friendship, you know, makes you feel good about yourself, makes you feel like this is a good connection, this is somebody I want in my life, this is like who I want to invite to like the family cookout or family picnic, or, you know, when we grow old, you know, we kind of set ourselves up for the rest of our lives when we're making those long-term friendships. And, you know, with that being said, you're putting in so much effort that you have to make sure that that effort is worth it almost. And I feel like a lot of people kind of try to judge that instead of just going into it and just seeing how things go, which is good and bad because obviously you should definitely be following your heart. But I feel like this day and age, it's really tough because with the podcast that I was listening to talking about female friendships and, you know, the struggles with it, they had mentioned that competing was a thing. And I don't ever want to feel like I'm competing with somebody. If I have that thought in my mind, it's terrifying to me because it's like, I've always been the type of person, I'm like a huge hype person when it comes to other people. I'll scroll on TikTok and I'll comment on people's TikToks and be like, yes, like you go girl, or you go, you know, person, human, whoever I'm talking to. Like, I've always wanted to hype up other people. And when it comes to my friendships, I've always been the person who, like, if you were to run a marathon, I would be sitting there in the sidelines cheering you on, and make that into a metaphor. So I want to be cheering you on for whatever you do, whatever your goals are, whatever your ambitions are, whatever you're doing in life. I want to be on those sidelines and cheer for you. And if I don't feel that way about you, I'm probably not the perfect match of being your friend. And vice versa. If I see somebody that isn't cheering me on and isn't, you know, wanting me to be the best version of myself, I might question that friendship. I might be like, do they care about me? Do they want what's best for me? Because if not, why are you friends with somebody if you don't want what's best for them? Why is that relationship existent? Because if you're not rooting for your friends and you're not rooting for people to succeed, it almost feels personal. It feels like, are you rooting on my downfall? You know, do you want to see me fail? Because I don't want to see you fail. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with that because a lot of people think that life is a competition when we're all metaphorically running our own races. We all have different life paths. For example, I will bring in my friend Tori. She is having a family and starting a family, and that is her life path, and I literally could not be happier for her. Like, she is having a baby girl, she announced it, and I'm just like, yes, like that is amazing. I know that's what she's always wanted, and I'm so genuinely happy to see that. But that's not my life path. It's not my road race. It's not my walk to follow. So I can still be there for her and cheer her on, even though it's not my same life path, because my road race looks like building a family with my girlfriend and our dogs. It looks like me wanting to write a book one day. It looks like me having a business and getting a business going. You know, we all have different things that we're shooting for. We're really not competing with each other. So why make it feel that way, you know? Even if on the rare chance you had two friends going for the same goal, which again, rare chance because I have never seen two people competing for the same goal necessarily. So that's why I've always never really understood the competition aspect that female friendships have that was talked about in this podcast, because I'm like, where is the competition coming from? We're all in our own races. And, you know, it really got me thinking about the people that I've been friends with, the people that I am friends with, the people that I've had failed friendships with, and really sat there and I thought about it and I was like, I've never really felt that way about somebody, but I always wondered if somebody felt that way about me, because if this is something that's common in female friendships, why is it common? Why, like, sit there really and think about it and be like, why is this even a thing? Because unless you're going for the same guy, which girl code, or same girl, again, girl code, there's no reason to compete. And it just kind of baffles me because I feel like the basis of a friendship should be honesty and loyalty and support. And I really don't think it should be hard, but I've really found that since I left Connecticut, all of my true friends that I like love and have built, you know, a relationship with and like can say those are my people. Oh my god, guys, there's a cat. An orange cat, hun. Okay. We definitely have a family of cats. So, anyway, I'm going to ignore that and continue on because I don't want to have to record this episode. But like the people in Connecticut, like I can truly say those are my people, and it's really hard because I've yet to find that here. And you know, I mean, I also have friends in Florida. I can't say Connecticut is the only place I have like my people, quote unquote. But essentially, I know who my people are, and I know that they're not currently in Texas. And if they are, I have not found them yet. Let's just put it that way. And you know, I guess this was kind of foreshadowed because the first person I had met on like those Bumble BFF apps, she and I connected because she was actually from Connecticut as well. And she goes, "Girl, I don't know why it's so hard to like find friends here, but I just feel like it's not it." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, I kind of just started, so I don't really understand what you're saying. Like, I haven't experienced anything yet. And she's like, "Yeah, I guess I just feel like, you know, people in New England, even though people in New England tend to have like I guess certain stereotypes around them. Like you've probably heard the phrase massholes, like people in Massachusetts are assholes, but like I feel like I've had such an easier time connecting with people in New England more than I have in Texas, and I don't know if that's due to me having struggles with the type of people I'm looking to be friends with, because when I was in Connecticut, I lived a completely different life. I was not out yet when I made all of the friends that I currently have in Connecticut. You know, I was with Jeff. I was bisexual with a man. So it was like, I'm not looking for gay friends. I'm just looking for people that align with me. And here in Texas, not that I'm necessarily looking for you have to be gay or queer in some way, shape, or form, but it is nice to feel like you're a part of a community, and I feel like I struggled with that. And even looking for just female friendships, it's like I'm sitting here swiping on these apps because I work from home. I don't really get to like talk to people. So it makes it very difficult to find friends. But it's like, I feel like once you put in the effort with somebody, it just kind of fails in some way, shape, or form. And that could be, the universe working its magic and saying that this person is not meant to be on your life path. Um, it could just be people are tired of putting effort in. It could be that everybody has a life and everyone has something to work on and do, because I will admit I'm guilty of trying to start a friendship and like putting effort in, and then the effort just kind of falls, and I'm like, well, the conversation died, so now what, And I know that other people have been guilty of it because I've been on the receiving and the, giving end of it, if you will. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I just think that it would be nice to have friends that I met here in Texas that supported me, that I could support and grow those connections with. But also, in the same breath, I know dang well that my girlfriend doesn't want to stay here, and neither do I personally. Um, I love that it's hot here. I love that there's sun. I love not having that seasonal depression that I get from when I lived in Connecticut. But it's too damn hot when it's hot, and it's excruciating, and it's not what I always imagined. And I think I genuinely came here on a calling to heal, and I feel like I'm still working on that. I'm still doing that. Like, I'm never going to be perfect. I'm always going to be working on myself and healing, yes, but I feel like my purpose here is not to build a life, but to find myself and find a life and go off of that. And then when I truly am ready to start building that connection of friends and find my people and build a house or find a house and buy it and, live my best life as I see fit, and, have the life where I can travel with Larissa and my, do whatever we want to explore and make the most out of this life, because this life is all about living it and not just like working to live. Because, well, I should say not living to work, but working to live. Like, being able to have a 9 to 5 or, a job of some sort that supports a lifestyle that you can travel, you can go on vacation, you can go to the beach on a nice day, do whatever you want to do without having to like struggle to get there, and go on adventures and find what happiness means to you, because happiness looks different in everybody. And with living life, the whole point of life is to have connections with people, because I feel like that's what makes, I don't want to say that's what makes life worth living, but it definitely does help, in the sense that like our lives are shaped by the people that we have connections with. Like, because of my mom, I am the type of person that I've grown to be. Because of the people that have been in my life, I have become the person that I am today. My experiences and my connection is what molded me into the person that I am. In addition to self-growth, learning, reading, all of that jazz. But your people and your experiences with others is what is going to kind of stick into your head. And I know that at the end of the day, if I have experiences with people and, grow old with a group of friends, that I'm going to make damn sure that that friendship is not hard, because it shouldn't be. We should be rooting for each other. We should be caring about each other. There should be no bad blood. There should be no stupid competition between you and somebody else. Like, we should be out here supporting each other, because life is freaking hard. And like, I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to have anything else in my life be hard if it doesn't have to be. I don't want a relationship to be hard, you know? I understand to put in work and effort, and I understand to, set aside time, set aside, what you need to, but you shouldn't be fighting for something. You shouldn't have to fight to keep something, because if you do, maybe it's not meant for you. Maybe things should be natural and shouldn't feel like you're competing to keep it, or competing to even, compete with somebody for something. Like, ultimately, we all want to succeed in this life. And I think all of us have a different dream and a different purpose in this life. And there are so many passions. There are so many people. There are so many different things on this earth that we can all do. God, I feel like I'm like praising like this like unity, but in reality, like, there is so much space in this world, and there is so much to do in this world that, like, we can all succeed in our own ways and not have to compete with the person next to us, especially someone that we would call a friend or a best friend. Like, think about it. Even if you both want, let's say, a surf shop, you can either go into business together, or you can have competing surf shops in a different area. And they're not really competing because they're a different area. I don't know. Maybe that's just my thought process on things, but there is just so much in this world and so much space in this world that, like, even if two people want to do the same thing and they're friends, they don't have to compete. There are ways around competing, and you shouldn't feel like you have to, especially with your friends. And if you do, reevaluate why you feel that way or why they feel that way, because I promise you, even though female friendships are hard, and it is so hard to like have that bond and that honesty and that loyalty, it shouldn't be hard. And I don't know why it is, but I hope that one day that we don't have to go through the same trials and tribulations just to be friends with somebody, or just to stay friends with somebody even. So I guess this is me saying, take a minute and think about the people in your life. Think about, do they root for me? Are they excited when I tell them good news? And reevaluate the people in your life and make sure that they are people that are going down the same path that you want to go down. You don't have to be exact, right? Like, Tori is having a child. I'm not going to have a child. But we both are in the direction of building our lives. I personally, for example, I think at this point in my life, would not mesh well with somebody who wants to go out and drink every weekend. I've been there. That's not what I want. And that's okay. So when I look for friendships in the future, I'm going to take that into account. Hey, I would much rather go thrifting, or go to a bookstore, or go to a park, have a little bit of wine and cheese and whatever, versus like going out to a club and drinking and hitting on people, because first of all, I'm taken, and second of all, it's just not my vibe anymore. Yes, I can go out and have fun with my friends, but I don't want to be doing that every weekend. I want to build a business. I want to watch stupid shows that make us not think about life for 30 minutes to an hour. I want to see my friends build their lives and, what they are working towards, whatever it is. If it's a family, if it's career based, if it's romantically versus a family, whatever you're working on, I want you to succeed, and I want I'm at the phase of life where like building goals is like where it's at versus like, you know, being stuck in the same patterns and having no way out, because I definitely have been there where I've felt stuck and I've felt like I'm in these bad habits and these bad patterns, and the only way to start getting out of that is to get out of that mindset first of all, but also to get out of that environment. So if this is if you've ever needed a sign to reevaluate the environment you're in, I guess I'm saying now's the time. Think about your friends, think about who's around you, think about what you want, because I promise you, friends are going to come and go, and the right ones for you will either A, stick around, or B, they will come back. And that's as simple as it is. And don't let anyone make you think that female friendships need to be hard, because they don't. You might go through some trials and tribulations. You might get tested. But I promise you, there is no need to fight, because ever since I've kind of grown up and come into certain realizations, I have realized with my best friend, the only time we ever really fought was when we lived together. And that was just based off of like her and I being exhausted and not wanting to like take out the trash or like, you know, clean up because we're again exhausted or whatever. Like it was never really fights either. Maybe we didn't agree with each other, but we always supported each other. And I think that's a good example of a female friendship not being hard, is we never had to like fight for us to be friends. We never had to even fight in general about stupid shit that doesn't matter, because we've matured and grown and we know what's important in life. And I can tell you for sure, if you think female friendships are hard, reevaluate it, because I promise you it doesn't have to be. And that was the hardest lesson for me to learn, is that they can be hard to form. Yes, because it really depends on like who you're getting to know, and you know, the effort into getting to know somebody, making the effort to meet up in person, you know, if you're meeting on like Bumble BFF or something. But yes, it can take effort, but at the end of the day, once you're friends with somebody, it should not be a fight. It should not be hard. If there is drama involved, you are either A, not clicking, and that's okay. You don't have to click with everybody. Or B, there is some development that needs to be worked on, whether it's your end or their end. I mean, I think you can put that in with your best judgment, but I've realized a lot lately that female friendships can be easy if you have your intentions in the right place, and vice versa. So take a moment, reevaluate your life, reevaluate your people, and make sure that if you see yourself going on a life path, that your friends are either right there with you, or if they're not, that's okay. See if they'll support you either way. Make sure that whoever you're friends with, they're going in the same direction, because one thing about growth is if you grow and you heal and people are lost in that process, they are lost for a reason. And it sucks and it hurts, but I promise you that anything that you strive for, any goal, any ambition, if that is what is important to you, your life will follow. Anyway, those are my wise words, I suppose. I love you guys very, very much. And I will see you next week for a more fun-hearted episode. So yeah, see you next time on Many Mistakes Ago podcast.